Hey guys, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today's video is going to be about realistic battles. Yes, that is realistic battles. And before I get onto that, I want to mention the fact that in this first clip that I'm going to be showing you, there's going to be music in the background because I screwed up on yesterday's stream where I was recording with the audio channels not properly set up. So unfortunately, some music has been caught up in the background, but it's not totally a bad thing because it's epic music, which I think is like neutral, right? Everybody loves epic music, and if anything, it probably adds to the spectacle of RB. Now then, RB, why am I playing RB? Kind of strange for a guy who mostly plays AB, and especially how recently in my Burning Questions 3, I mentioned that, yeah, I'm pretty much an AB channel. I think my mind changes probably more often than a girl's mind changes, you know? And I think you're going to start seeing a lot more RB content on the channel, and there's a few reasons why I've come to this decision. Basically, like playing AB for so long and also playing the tournaments and unlocking so many planes, it's kind of come to the point where I think I've kind of reached like a maximum in AB, like how much I can know and how much I can do. So I think rather than it being like bored of one mode, AB, I'm not bored at all. It's more like I want to go to the next challenge, and sim battles is probably too much of a challenge for me just yet. So I want to learn RB inside and out, get good in it, play in the 1 vs 1 tournaments, come top 10. That's my ultimate goal, to come top 10 in the 1 vs 1 tournaments in RB. And so here I am, playing RB on the stream yesterday. The entire stream was dedicated to RB. I guess RB people rejoice. AB people, don't worry, there might be still more AB content in the future. But enjoy this content, alright? So here we go. I'm in my Spitfire Mark 14C, which has 4 small caliber machine guns and also 2 Hispano cannons with 240 rounds, I believe, which you would think it's not that much, but between 2 guns, it's actually not that bad. And these Hispanos, oddly enough, that, you know, only 2 of them isn't a whole lot of stopping power in comparison to other warbirds out there, but the 2 times Hispanos still do pretty damn decently well, especially in RB where little bits of damage can add up to a whole lot more. Yeah, unfortunately I managed to catch my subscriber or follower sound as well. I'll try to mute it in future instances in this video so it doesn't appear. So if there's any muted bits in this video, then that's because I had to mute out the follower sound. But anyway, so I'm going into a turn fight with some Germans over here and their Focke-Wulfs. And I think one of the most awkward things about me coming into RB is, well, it's obviously the rustiness, not playing for so long, and also I think what's really important is not being used to the planes that I'm flying with, but also what the enemy planes are like. I mean, I have a general idea that the German planes are boom and zooms, the Spitfires, they are turn fighters, obviously. But it's like getting an idea of just what each plane is capable, like what their maximum speed is and yada yada yada. For example, I came against some LA9s in another clip that I'm going to be showing you, and I thought LA9s would be much more boom and zoom than turn fighters, but I noticed in a lot of occasions they were actually able to keep up pretty damn decent pace with me in a turn fight, let alone that they can outspeed me as well. And I think that just comes with experience and learning exactly what planes you come against and what they can actually do, and it just comes from playing a multitude of games. So everything that you're seeing here is just obviously me getting used to what I'm able to do, but it's also learning what my Spitfire is capable of doing as well. So after trying to shoot down that enemy, he was critically damaged, but I still went for it anyway because it's not like he was on fire and insured to die. You know, there's a lot of times people, they might get a bit of crit, but then they keep on flying, and then they even kill another of your teammates. So I still wanted to go for it, even though it looked kind of a little bit like a kill steal. Still wanted to make sure that it was absolutely 100% dead. I think I've got a general rule where if they're not on fire, I still go for it, unless they're like blatantly, you know, wing missing and they're spinning out of control. But yeah, that's what it was. Going down for another guy, took him out. But when I say about my Spitfire and learning what it's capable of doing, it's not necessarily like, oh, I don't know that it's not a good turn fighter. It's more like learning what's its maximum speed, because on paper it says it's around 720 kilometers per hour, but then the wings don't really break off until about 770. Another thing to note is also just how much fuel you need. For example, in this match, I took out 20 minutes of fuel, and that's why I had to land on the airfields again. Because, fortunately, 20 minutes of fuel doesn't last you as long as I was hoping it to be. And I had to land, go take off again, and go encounter some more enemies. Another thing I've had to learn is compression. These Spitfires, I feel, suffer from compression quite a bit in high-speed dives, but I mean, you know, what plane doesn't? I feel like these Spitfires especially suffer from that. We're around like 650 kilometers per hour, especially when you're like in a spiral and you need to roll. I find that particularly quite hard to do in the Spitfire, and so I have to go into maneuvers that bleed speed. Now that's another kill assist, kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. And so it's basically me and this teammate behind me. We're going to be trying to compete for these last kills. So if I clock that in right, that's 2 kills so far, and a handful of kill assists. Now I'm chasing after this enemy here, and what a lot of times people will do is they want to return to their base in order to repair. But obviously when you've got enemies nearby, then you're not going to try to land in your base when the enemies could just swoop down and kill you. A lot of times what people do is they end up going to their airfield just to use the AA to protect them. And that could be a really annoying thing, because like yesterday I had a game where I was trying to lay low to dodge the AA, but then they still managed to shoot me as I was, well, it looked like I was going to be in the safety of getting away from the AA. They still sniped me from pretty darn far distance. So ideally when I can stay away from the airfield, that's the best possible thing. Now that's another kill assist, getting kind of frustrating now. I'm actually saying, during this time on the stream, I hope my teammate in front of me dies. Yes, that's right. I hope my teammate dies. Because, let's be real here, guys. Kill assists don't give you nearly as many points as a normal kill does. And when you're in a 1 versus 1 situation, you know, you don't need the help of a teammate. So I was actually cursing in the stream. I hope this guy dies. Okay, maybe cursing is an over-exaggeration, but I was saying I hope my teammate dies so I can actually get more kills here. Or else I'm just going to be racking in kill assists. Now I broke off to the side because I was hoping this BF-109 would go for my teammate, but unfortunately it was coming down for me. He decided not to entirely go down for me and broke off to go for my teammate. So it looks like my wish might actually come true here as my teammate tries to break off, but he's in a perfect setup for the enemy, and my enemy finishes him off. So happy days, it's just me versus the enemy, and what is more ideal than a 1 versus 1? Uh-oh. Oh, god damn it, a 2 versus 1. Now I could really use a teammate. Ah, karma, isn't it? Instant karma. So the enemy that took out my teammate decides to climb up into the clouds, and effectively what's happened now is I'm sandwiched between 2 enemies. One of which is going to be disappearing into the clouds, and one that is directly behind me. How awkward can this get? They're both closing in on me. So what do? Do I try to look for the guy in the clouds and potentially lose my speed as I climb up? Nope, that'd be a bad decision. Instead, I'm going to dive on down, try to dodge this BF-109. He's going to try to maintain his altitude. I think he should have tried to get at least a swipe in on me and then fly away. I think that would have been the smarter thing. But instead, he decided to get lost in the clouds, turn around, and we're going to do a slight head-on. Aim is completely off for both of us. Him just over, mine just under. Unfortunately, I didn't have the speed to line up my shots. And that other BF-109 coming out of nowhere, out of the mist of the clouds, damages me slightly. My fuselage bearing a pink color. I decided to try and turn this around on the BF-109, who oddly enough actually doesn't have, well, looks to be, not as much speed as he should. He looked like he came out of a dive and could have easily gotten away from me, but somehow I managed to keep up, get behind him, do quite a bit of damage, critical hit, trying to get as best as I can, not throttle controlling too well. I was hoping that I could finish him off. And so I'm forced to go into a roll, a barrel roll, to try and bleed some speed and make some distance between me and him. But I definitely should have throttle controlled that a bit better, indeed. And there you go. That's his wing flying off. And the other guy, unfortunately their coordination wasn't good enough. Brilliant coordination would have been one swooping in, force me to dodge, then the other one takes a turn, force me to dodge, until I get lower and lower to the ground. That's what the BF-109 should be ideally doing, but I have a feeling that this guy above me probably got lost in the clouds. He might have been looking for me in the clouds, anticipating that I might have been there. And, well, I wasn't. I was out here in the open actually killing his teammate. And so, I'm not sure what this BF-109 is doing, but definitely the wrong thing to be doing. Try and do barrel rolls alongside a Spitfire, who's also capable of doing barrel rolls, but also has less speed. So ensuring, essentially, that the BF-109 is going to overshoot. Oh, silly BF-109, not playing to your advantage. At least this time he decided to speed away, but turning around again, a fatal mistake because he didn't have enough distance. 1.3 kilometers is just not enough in RB, and so I can get behind him. Now I went kind of downwards there because I was anticipating for him to actually continue his path below me, but I decided to break off to the left a little bit. Now this is where the wonkiness in the Spitfire model comes in. You'll notice sometimes here when I'm making turns, my Spitfire will almost, like there, kind of flip out a little bit. It goes on an unnatural path where I wasn't hoping it to actually go. Now in my chat on the stream, people were saying that they've never noticed this problem. But I kept on mentioning in the stream, like, okay guys, look at this. My Spitfire is flipping out right now. And it's not even me pressing the rudder. I don't even press the rudder at all in RB. So, I don't know. I think it might even be just the Spitfire flight model. But there you go. 4 kills, not too shabby for my 3rd game on the stream. And so, I move on to my next clip, which was actually off stream. And this time, because I had my audio lines perfect, I can actually, there's no music in the background. Happy days. Then again, the epic music kind of added to it a little bit. So you might have noticed that I was AFK climbing there, just looking straight ahead. That's what I do in RB when I'm not streaming. I'm just AFK climbing, not even paying attention to what's going on in front of me. But came back into the game, and there's 2 enemies in front of me, and they're both trying to close the distance. So it's time for me to run away, because I've learned that LA9s are surprisingly maneuverable. And a 2-on-1, even though I'm in a Spitfire, is not going to be really playing to my advantage. And so I'm going to fly away towards the safety of my enemy, or my allies rather. Yes, the safety of my enemies. To the safety of my allies, and try to even out this fight a little bit. But that LE9 is really closing in. They are surprisingly devilish planes to take on. Definitely gotta play a little bit more to try and get used to them. But it looks like I didn't have to fall back to my allies completely, because there was another ally of mine who is lower altitude. So basically acting as bait. Cannon fodder, essentially. Where both enemies decide to go down for him for that potentially easy kill. Now, I don't agree with the enemies are doing. If the LE9 went for that F8F, okay, that's fine. But for that Yak 9 to also dive down as well, I think that's a bit senseless. There's no point for 2 people going for 1 target when it's blatantly obvious that there are a lot of other targets near you, like myself, coming inbound. So I decided to chase the LA9, and this is exactly what I was talking about, that compression with the Spitfire, and it's kind of frustrating because I'm not sure if I'm doing anything wrong here, and this is where I actually extend out to you guys. But is there anything I could actually do better there in that turn to try and close that distance between the LA9 and myself, where we were only like, what, 500 meters between each other, and now it's like over 2 kilometers because I did a really wide turn due to compression from all the speed that I had as I spiraled on down. Is there anything I could have done better in terms of a maneuver to alleviate that? I feel like there must have been, because that didn't seem optimal at all. So the Yak 9 decided to come down to try and help his LA9 teammate who was being chased by me, and unfortunately what's happened now is the LA9 has gotten back to safety, but he's not coming back in to help his Yak 9 UT. What great teamwork, eh? A guy saves you, and then you get to safety, but you're not going to come back in to save him. Oh well, sacrifices must be made, eh? So the Yak 9 UT, losing all of the speed, obviously not as capable at turn fighting as I am. Boom, 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 easy kill. LA9, another one. This is not the same one as the one I was chasing. Another LA9 swoops on down, hoping that he could probably do something, but he gets taken out in a head-on with the Bearcat. And so, that guy who is running away probably feels a little bit guilty now. Two of his teammates, including one that potentially saved his life, are dead. and he did nothing to stop it. How do you feel, TY man? How do you feel? Well, I tried to climb up a little bit, see if I can get some random sputter of machine gun fire in there. I've actually separated out my guns so that on my left mouse button I've got both my secondary and primary weapons firing, and then on my right mouse button I've got my secondary firing, just my machine guns, so I can separate between the two so that I'm not wasting my cannon rounds. I'm just trying to use those obviously when I've got lined up shots. LA9 taking out one of my teammates here, unfortunately. He's crispy. And I was hoping that my aim would be good enough to shoot at this LA9. If you're wondering, my gun convergence is at 700. I've had people tell me to put it at 400 for RB, which I don't think is necessarily a bad idea. But I mean, I'm used to 700. I don't really see a problem with 700 because if you think about it, I mean, they're going to be quite converged, not totally obviously converged, at 400 meters anyway. I mean, it's going to be over half the way converged, if that makes sense. If my convergence is at 700, so it's still not bad. But it is what it is, and I don't know. Also, when it comes to head-ons, I like to make sure that my gun converges like 700, because if it's at 400 and you start spraying at a plane who's like 1 kilometer away from you, or 1.2, whatever, then your shots are going to be completely off if you have a 400 meter convergence. Anyway, that guy tried to take me on. I went up into an upward spiral, dropped down on him with a bit of a hammerhead, killed him off. Looked actually pretty sweet. That was a nice maneuver to even out that battle. So now begins the chase, I guess, on the LA9s that are remaining. Tried to go on a head-on, obviously tried to break off as well, because LA9s, very powerful guns, not a great idea to stay on in the head-on and pretend that I'm gonna win. Nope, not at all. So I do try to break off where possible. Now, another thing that I've tried doing is head-ons that are upside down, because in AB recently I've started doing a lot more often. Whenever I'm doing a head-on in AB, I do them upside down, because the idea is, and I'm sure you've noticed, that pitching up your plane is much easier to do than pitching down your plane. Your plane is obviously more responsive to pitching up. And so as you can imagine, if you do a head-on upside down, then when you're pitching up, then you can basically just go downwards straight away. And it's very responsive to going downwards. And so you can dodge those oncoming shots from the enemy in a head-on very, very easily. Now this looks like it's going to be another head-on with an LA9. Not a good idea. But my snipes, they're great. The beauty of 700 meters convergence. Can you imagine if I had 400? Do you think I would actually have killed him? Let's see. If I shot him out at 1.2, then effectively, yeah, you could do multiples of 1.2 divided by 400. So converge, diverge at 800, and then half. It'd be like 1.5 times spread it out by that point at 1.2 kilometers. But anyway, there's one last guy on the enemy team, and what he's done is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Going over the airfield, I'm trying to dodge the AA fire. I notice whenever I go in a straight line over the airfield that they just have a much easier chance of shooting me down, so that's why I was swiveling all around the place. Now what the enemy has done is he's done this. He's flying all around the map. My teammate has actually run out of fuel, the one that was chasing him, and then this happens. Take a look at this. I thought he jumped out. I was like, what? This guy just went around the entire map, led me on like a 10-minute chase around the map, and then he jumps out? No. Apparently something new that I never knew about. When did this happen? When did this start happening? Where you go off the map in RB, and instead of it spawning you back on the map, it makes you crash and die. Huh. I never knew that was happening now. Cool, I guess. Cool indeed. But there you go, guys. That's some games that I had in my Spitfire Mark 14C. A very nice plane. It's a premium. Very, very nice. I'm not going to do any proper reviews of planes in RB just yet because honestly guys, like, I'm not clued up. If I'm asking you guys for tips and tricks, then obviously I'm not clued up. Me doing a review like right now would be like, I don't know, asking a 10-year-old who just got Pokemon on the Game Boy to do a review of Pokemon or something. You know, it's just kind of like that. It would be silly. So I'm not going to do anything like that until I've obviously fleshed out more expertise in RB. However, what I will ask you guys is, over the course of playing 1v1 tournaments in arcade battles, I've learned a lot of like intricate details about AB that I don't think the average Joe knows. And I want to ask you guys, do you know any intricate details in RB that you want to share with me and other people? If you do, like any sort of tips and tricks to help me turn better or help me survive from compression or G-force or whatever it might be, then feel free to leave those tips in the comment box below. I'll be sure to read them. I read every comment. So there we go. Alright dudes, until the next video, until the next RB, I will catch you guys next time.
The way we kick it in the dojo is local for show, though we paving the road that's opposed to the dojo.